So NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, it's a fancy name, but it's stuff that we all do naturally every day. It's
Yes.
brain, it's language, it's how we as humans react to these things.
Absolutely.
So we're all using these tools, and NLP just teaches you to use it consciously rather than unconsciously. And look, it can be used for good, or it can be used for evil, just like a knife can be used to prepare a meal or to kill someone. Like it's all about the intention.
Hey legends, Damian here, the creator and founder of Apex Unleashed. Really looking forward to you today, to seeing today's episode, and hopefully for you, it's the gateway for you finding out a little bit about yourself and how you can help you move forward with your goals, hopes and dreams.
Hey everybody, it's Damian here from Apex Unleashed. I have the amazing Amy Duncan here today. Amy, welcome.
Thank you, Damian. Pleasure to be here.
Hey, look, I know some of our group and our following might not be so familiar with all the work that you do. So Amy, tell us a little bit about yourself and your business and what you do to help others.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a health, wellness and mindset coach. So essentially I've studied NLP among other modalities, and that has given me the tools to be able to help people gain perspective and change their own lives. So I help people gain perspective on themselves, gain awareness, and with that awareness, they can then change the things that aren't working for them.
Amazing. And so like me, like Apex Unleashed, it was born out of a curiosity for people and learning and getting the best out of myself. So where did that idea come from, and where did that action start?
Yeah, look, absolutely. So I've always been interested in health and basically how health affects all areas of our lives, Damian. So, obviously we've got nutrition, exercise, getting enough rest, got the mindset,
spirituality is a huge thing, isn't it?
Spirituality, absolutely. And I would put that in the mindset kind of thing, and that faith, that, belief in a higher power. And I would definitely call that part of health as well. And, all of these things have such a huge impact on all areas of our lives and of our well-being, our self-esteem, so many things, as well as our physical health.
Absolutely. And how did it become a reality? What did you do to get started?
Yeah, look, absolutely. So obviously I have studied NLP, I've studied different modalities, I've actually done my master's in life coaching. And essentially I had to just take the leap and get started, really. I left the corporate world. I started working for myself. I started working odd jobs to, make ends meet while getting into my business, and just learned to say yes, really.
Yeah, and so you're one of the very few people that decided to follow their passion as their number one priority, and just decided that was going to, bring the ultimate happiness for you. And tell me about how that was. Is that you made the decision to put your business and you first, and did what you needed to do to make it happen?
Yeah, so probably the biggest thing for me was learning to get out of my own way. So I am a recovering perfectionist.
Yes.
So
we're perfectly imperfect, just the way we are, just so you know.
Yeah, definitely. I like that one. And look, even productive procrastination. So I would used to know when I had something important to do, because I would have, the house would be spotless, my meal prep for the week would be done, like I'd be tackling DIY projects, basically doing everything except what I was supposed to be doing. So I really had to learn to just go like, okay, Amy, enough's enough. You need to cut the fluff. You really need to focus on the important work and just make it happen. Get out of your own way.
So self-talk comes up there, isn't it? Is that what were the daily rituals that you commenced so you could, in your words, get out of your own way? Because I think 80% of people that are listening to what you say probably have touched a nerve and went, oh, that's me.
Yeah, look, absolutely. So for me, it actually starts with protecting my own bedtime routine. So I make sure that I get to bed when I say I will and get up when I say I will. So I've got time for meditation and exercise before my day starts.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I know everyone says we've got daylight rituals and nighttime rituals. So your rituals start the night before to set your day up.
Yeah, so really with that, you know, I feel my best when I've had adequate sleep. So it's about making sure that I'm getting to bed at a respectable hour. So for me, I like to get to bed at 9:30 so I can be up at 6 a.m., have that time for me in the morning. And the thing is it's a tiny little thing, right? But it's the small things that compound into the big things over time. So it's like it's building a foundation, and once that foundation is built, it gives us the grounding to build bigger things.
Yeah, I love that, is that it's those daily things done right that over time, to talk about the book I recently read, and we'll talk about books shortly, The Compound Theory by Dan Hardy, is that it's all about the little things that happen every day. And most people tend to resonate with that. It's like if you drop 300 grams a day, by the end of the week, you've dropped over 2 kilos. You're like, oh, wow. But if you weigh yourself every day, you're probably not noticing much of a difference, but it's the little tasks that matter. So it's really good to hear that, you're aware of what you need to do to sort of set yourself up for the day and give yourself the opportunity to have those possibilities with your clients, because, your industry is very much predicated on that. Like, you have to protect your energy, because people are there because you need to help them and they need your help. And if your energy is not right, you talk about being a perfectionist, you don't feel like you've gotten everything out of that conversation or helped that client, I've got no doubt that would cause some sort of, anxiety for you to be like, oh, God, did I do the right thing by that person today? Because that's important to you, isn't it?
Absolutely. And yeah, it is a double-edged sword. So it does have that benefit where I am very thorough, and with what I've learned, I like to really grasp it before I take it with a client and really know the ins and outs and exactly how that's going to affect them, and what they're not saying, and how to use those tools to really help people and make sure that it's on point and I'm not missing anything.
Yeah, and NLP is a wonderful thing once you learn it and grasp it and understand it, because if you just read about those programs and what they do, and I suppose you have a different perspective, there's not a positive outlook and things like that, people probably have a bit of a perception that NLP is a programming and somewhat of a way to trick people into getting what you want. What do you say to people like that who have that negative connotation to NLP?
Yeah, look, absolutely. That's a great question. So NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, it's a fancy name, but it's stuff that we all do naturally every day. It's the brain, it's language, it's how we as humans react to these things. Absolutely. So we're all using these tools, and NLP just teaches you to use it consciously rather than unconsciously. And look, it can be used for good, or it can be used for evil, just like a knife can be used to prepare a meal or to kill someone. Like it's all about the intention. And for people who say it's manipulative, like, yeah, it can be. And the very art of manipulation is to mold something. And I guess the question is, how are you molding it? If you think about a child, like, you're molding your child, right? But you're manipulating them, but not in a negative way. We would hope not. You are molding them in what you would think is the best for that child, to give them the self-belief, the confidence, that all of these things to help them as an adult. And it's the same with NLP, and it can be used for good or evil, like everything. It's all about the intent.
And course correction is a wonderful thing. Is that the most successful leaders, businesses, entrepreneurs, individuals that I know that coin success is that they're able to course correct themselves, regulate their emotions, regulate, what they say, how they say it, read the room, as people would say. And you talk about being conscious of your thoughts, is that we have so many autonomous things that we do in our days that people can live their life living autonomously without a direction, even though the direction is the same every day. And I think it's daunting. And that's why people in your profession are absolutely necessary, because you brought up the most key thing I've heard in a long time in a podcast. It's, I need to work out what you're not saying. So what's the fulfillment you get when you sort of work that out and you can explain it to someone and then rationalize it to them about your observation? What joy do you get from that?
I guess when I'm in a session and I do kind of, I guess, see what I haven't seen, that I know is that aha moment, and it's that thing that's really going to help my client get to the next level.
Yeah.
I'm actually very careful with that. So when I do see that, I give myself a moment, you know, even I might bring it up the next session just to make sure that I can really say it in a way that's going to come across with kindness and compassion and respect for the other person, and to have it actually land well. And because some of these things, you know, that you see, it can be quite confronting. Like it's not stuff that the other person is seeing, and it can be quite confronting if not handled respectfully.
Yeah, I suppose I had a session like that, you know, just through a life conversation with someone. And what it came down to is that, you know, one of the things I've coined recently is that for me is responsibility the meaning of life, is because, you know, I have responsibility to a family, children, business, employees. The list goes on. And the responsibility to myself, and putting that first and having that conflict of, you know, it's okay to look after me first so I can look after other people. And that as that martyr mentality comes into mind about always wanting to make sure everyone else is okay first, is that when you get to the point of understanding is that for me, responsibility is the meaning of my life right now, because I'm responsible for so many people and myself. That moment does causes a lot, because it's the joy of knowing you're on the right track, but there's also the stress of going, that there's a lot in front of me as well. And I need help and support, and I have to ask people for help. You know, we're not getting too far off track, but when people, I suppose, don't ask for help, but you sort of wish you could give them that little bit of guidance, and you say you're very careful with it, how do you move through those emotions with people? Because what's it like to know you can help but have to sit back and wait for them? Because if you put something, not an opinion, but a thought process onto them and not ready for it, it can sort of turn a little bit pear-shaped, can't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where I would just sit back and really reverse engineer it myself, and really just imagine. What I do is I would put myself in their perspective of not being aware of what it is that they're not aware of, and imagine what it would be like hearing what I think that they need to hear. And I will reverse engineer it from that point to a way that I believe would come across as respectful but also helpful, because it is that balance, right, of keeping rapport and being respectful, but then at the same time giving them the truth. And it's really about that rapport with the person, and letting them know that, you know, letting them feel that you really have their best intentions at heart, because then they are more likely to accept the hard truths that, you know, you have to give them sometimes. And, you know, metaphors are great. Stories, really helping them, you know, sometimes really helping them work it out on their own, and asking them the questions that are going to actually lead them to what you have seen, but let them discover it on their own. Not always coming through the front door.
And it's funny you talk about, you know, the power of a story, is that sometimes you have to share a story for people to, you know, go, oh, okay, that's relatable to me in my situation in my life. So sometimes the people coming to their own conclusion, and in a business sense, making them think it's their idea, when you go back to NLP, is that all of that links together. And approachability probably came to mind when you were talking about that, is that you have a natural approachability to people. So we met at a conference, and you were like, it was very natural to approach you because of, you know, just mannerisms and things like that. So with that being said, is that something that you've constantly worked on, or you just knew you had a natural talent and a natural aura about you to be able to be approachable to people?
Yeah, so I think for me it was something that just came naturally. I've always been a people person. I've always liked people. I've always found people very interesting and how we operate and our minds. So I definitely think it is a natural thing. But then in saying that, I have also learnt tools that do help me build on that, because in saying that, thank you, Damian, about me being approachable and everything. This is true, but it's also true that I'm naturally quite a high energy, high vibe kind of person. And with certain clients or certain people who aren't in that space, that can actually be quite intimidating and have the opposite approach. So sometimes for me, it's about learning to really bring that down. And that's how I be approachable as well, when I need to really tone my energy down, as to not frighten people if they're just not feeling safe to have that kind of loud out there.
Well, it's like people can be very introverted when there's solitude, but they might be extroverted people. So depending on circumstance and situation, we're all we use the word chameleon comes to mind for you. So what is it that most people don't know about you? What are the things that when you meet someone, what's the first thing you probably tell people about yourself?
Yeah, so I've been sober for 10 years. I am a non-drinker, so that is a point of difference with myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for you, that's obviously something important to you for your health and wellness, and you choose not to do it because of the health implications, or is it just like, I don't like the person I am when I was drinking?
Yeah, so when I was younger, I used to be quite a heavy drinker. So it's kind of one of those things that I wanted to stop for a long time. This was way before I started meditation, before I started my life coaching journey, back when I was still a teen. But once I finally did stop, I was like, that's it, I'm done. Like I wasn't interested. And some people have said, do you feel like if you had one drink, would you be hooked again? And for me, no, that's not it. It's just, I'm just not interested. Like I really like to feel that I'm in like full control of my faculties, and I know what's going on, and I'm very sensitive, and I don't like to fog that.
That season in life has changed for you. And that's a wonderful thing to be aware of all those things. And like you say, your awareness isn't something you just woke up with today and said, hey, I've got my full awareness now. It's a constant thing that you're looking at. You were telling me before we went on to this podcast that there's a charity that you're quite fond of, that you do a lot of work for in Sydney. What's that called again?
Absolutely. So it's called Petals of Peace. So the mission of Petals of Peace is folding lotus flowers as a symbol of hope. So the story of Petals of Peace is a lady and her daughter escaped communist China. So the daughter's father, the lady's husband, he was actually persecuted to death in communist China because of his beliefs. So essentially Petals of Peace is it's just folding a lotus flower as a symbol of hope for people who live in places where they're not free to have their own spiritual beliefs, whether that be Christianity, Buddhism, Falun Dafa, whatever it is. They're not free to practice these things.
We don't understand, like when we talk about we're both in Australia and the personal freedoms we have to walk outside every day, and basically as long as we're not breaking the law, come and go as we please and do what we want, as long as we're fitting in the guidelines of life. And for people to actually say you can or can't have this belief based on what arbitrarily is an opinion of others, it must be really, really hard. And that story's, it's one of those things is that without the work that you're doing in this charity and the symbolic things that you do, those sort of things, like, it's worth fighting for, isn't it? It's worth fighting for that personal peace, isn't it?
Yeah, I completely think so. I mean, spirituality plays a big part in my life, and I'm really lucky to live in Australia where we are free to to have our beliefs and to believe what we choose. And, you know, we don't live in fear of if somebody finds out that I'm a Christian or I'm a Buddhist or I'm a Falun Gong practitioner. If someone finds out, then, you know, like I can risk being thrown into a labour camp. Like that's just ludicrous as an Australian to imagine that. Yeah.
And, you know, the people take their personal freedom so seriously, and we're in a COVID life, and we have been for a long period of time now. And we don't even like to be told when we can go to the shops or not, let alone something so personal to us. You know, like our beliefs and things like that. And, you know, it's just, it's a thing that if people said, hey, I don't feel like there's a lot in my life going for me and I'm not sure if, you know, I'm getting the most out of my life, is that, you know, the first thing you should do, my belief system as well, is that go help others. You know, go put some hours into a charity. If you're fortunate enough that you've got some spare funds, donate money to a charity that can then put something towards it, so, you know, people can really sort of harness that, because there's nothing better in this world than helping others as a choice. You know, it's just something, you know, if you journal every day, I want to help 3 people. My version of that is there was an old lady walking down the street and she was struggling with her groceries. I asked her if she wanted some help. She gladly took the help. We grabbed the groceries and took it to her house. Is that there's probably a world where that's not a common thing now. Yeah, that's why you have to take the ownership of yourself, because you have to just do the little things for you. So if other people see that, then they might take the next step and do the right thing by others. And I would like to think that, you know, leadership in action is a wonderful thing. And that Pedals for Peace, you actually run that organisation in Sydney, don't you?
Yes, so I am the volunteer of the Sydney branch. So it was created in Melbourne. It's now an international organisation, but I do run the Sydney branch of that. I do not-for-profit stalls at markets where I fold paper lotus flowers with kids and with adults, with people of all ages. So yeah.
Wonderful. And we'll have something in the description there so people can reach out if they want to help and support such a good cause. And we're more than happy to share the good things that you're doing there as well, Amy, which is wonderful. And I suppose the big pillar of the conversation today is that, you know, you wrote a book and you released a book. How did that happen?
Yeah, absolutely. So Changemakers, yes, Changemakers came out last year now. So beautiful. That was my own chapter in a published book. Essentially, it's a story about my life. It's about how I came into the coaching world. It's really my defining moments, those moments in my life that really made me sit up and go, yeah, something's going to change, and that something's got to be me. And there's no time like the present.
And what advice do you have for people to take those actions to get started? It might not be as monumental as you know, writing a book or you know, being an organizer in a charity. Where do you think people should start?
So I think you know, our habits are the things that we do repetitively. So, you know, whatever you do, just be intentional with what you do. And, you know, it's not always easy to change your habits, but with repetition and eventually the things that, you know, are unfamiliar will become familiar, and they'll become your new habits. So you've just got to do the hard work.
Yeah. For your business, Mindset for Health, how can people get on a discovery call with you and see how you can help them best?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can go to my website, amyduncan.com.au. You can book a free discovery call with me, see if we are a good fit to work together. You can also connect with me on socials. I'm Amy Isabel Duncan on Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah. Amazing. And I love your quote here about, you know, take inspired action, you know, like hotcakes, ideas are best hot. Motivation's a wonderful thing, but when motivation subsides, you've just touched on it, habits are the things that, you know, tend to pull you in the right directions of your goal setting. And I heard a really cool quote recently and it was learn to dance with your fear. So, fear is, false evidence appearing real. There's a lot of things that you learn for reading and things like that. So is there a book that you've recently read, or what is your favourite book that you've probably read 15 times that help you with not just your habits and your learnings and being intentional? Is there a book that stands out for you that says, if I could get everyone to read this book, it would be this one?
Just one, Damian?
Look, I'll write them all down because I'll read them, because I always make time for reading, because you never pick up a book and then put it down and be the same person if you're actually paying attention to it. So, yeah, I'd love to hear your top 5.
Top 5, beautiful, because that's how many I've got on my list. So, yeah, I love audiobooks. Awesome. My car is a library. I'm always listening to books when I'm driving. Awesome. And 5 of my all-time favourites would be total classic. You've got The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey.
Talking about that one today.
It's amazing. Yes.
Yeah.
The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. Again, that is quite popular. Quite a few people know about it. It's incredible. Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Yeah. I listened to that one multiple times. It's an ongoing love, that one.
It's definitely one you want to listen to more than one. A couple others that I've just listened to recently that are really good. The 5-Second Rule by Mel Robbins.
Love her, yeah.
Yes. And Girl, Wash Your Face by Rachel Hollis.
Yeah. Now, can't say I've listened to that one, but we might listen to that one too. Yeah, they all teach you something a little bit different, don't they?
Absolutely. Like often the content can be similar, but it's just that different perspective that helps it go in a different way and helps it land.
Look, it's definitely the meaning of the day, and and a thought process landing is so interesting. Is that so? I need video, so I'm visual. I need to see something while I'm looking at it, while I'm hearing it, because it lands better for me. And audiobooks are really good, and I like to listen to it, but I always feel like those little snippets and clips on YouTube, they really hit their mark with me, and that's where I found Mel Robbins. And that 5-second rule is an amazing thing. And it's sometimes, don't you wish with some of those books, Atomic Habits was that for me, is that, God, I wish this book turned up into my life earlier.
It's a time for everything, though. I truly believe that when we're ready, these things will appear. We have to go through what we have to go through to get to the point where we're ready to accept the things in front of us when they appear.
Yeah. The law of attraction is a wonderful thing, is that your vibrations will let other vibrations enter into your world. And people laugh about it like, yeah, okay, what does that mean? It's like, well, if you're vibrating at a certain level, when you introduce and meet someone, is that vibration, you can be like, that person's on my level, or that's someone that I want to get to know better. Equally, when you walk into a room and the vibrations aren't right, you're like, something's not right here. And that people use that as intuition, and that's something that really, really works for as well. And just one final thought for me is that I'm on a little bit of a crusade at the moment, not just meaning, but sayings and statements, because the comment that come up for me is that don't burn daylight is really about, in the absence of time, and people say, I don't have time, is that you have the same amount of daylight as other people. Why do only certain people get more out of their day? That's just a little bit for me to remind myself, is that you have the same hours in the day, same sunlight, as everybody else. So you have the opportunity. Everyone has the same playing field. So have that opportunity to do that. And my last question to you in this forum is that what's the one thing today that you think is your part to play? Because we've all got a part to play in that, how we communicate better in this world. In a world full of social media and trying to look good in a video and post and show that our life looks great on socials, what do you think's the one thing for you about how to improve communication across friends, family, and I suppose people you deal with on the day-to-day life? Because I think communication is getting harder as time goes on because there's so many forums.
Yeah, I think the main thing is just shut up and listen, right? Like you've got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. So
Confucius says, yeah.
The more you just, you listen to people, hear things that you wouldn't learn, you wouldn't pick up on if you were doing all of the talking and not listening. And, you also touched on friends, family, loved ones, whatnot. I was speaking to a gentleman the other day. We were in a class together, and what did he say? Something along the lines of like, because he just had this personality, this aura. He wasn't in the personal development industry at all, but he was just a really incredible human, and I could really pick up on that. And I remember he said to me that he has a lot of friends, a lot of family members. He deals with a lot of young people, and he said that he just wants to be there and give people the love and give them that open, inviting environment, because you never know when they need it. You might not know that they need it, and you might not know what it means to them, but they might actually need it. So he's just there for them in case they were the one that did need that on that day.
Yeah. Look, the world would be a better place if we had that intention for that as well. So that's amazing. So on that note, I'm reminding myself that I need to meditate a little bit more, because, some meditation for me is my next challenge. Right now I'm doing a food one. And meditation is something that I'm curious about. I'm trying to, if you ask someone with meditation, how do you know if you're good at meditation? They probably look at you and smile and go, probably the wrong question. Because, you got to be aware, you got to be ready for it, don't you?
I think with meditation, it's one of those things. A lot of people say to me, they're like, I can't meditate. I'm one of those people who can't sit still. My mind's always on. Like, a lot of people think that to meditate, you've just got to be like the most zen. You can just completely switch off. But the thing is, it's not like that. Like, sure, you do have the days where you meditate and it's just, you're just floating in a bubble. But a lot of the time you do get distracted by, what do I need to do today? What do I need to pick up from the groceries? And it's really just about learning to say, okay, this is my 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour, however long it is. I can pick up all that stuff, but right now this is just my time. It's just about training yourself, training your mind to just have that time. And it pays in dividends. Yeah,
that's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing. Thank you so much for joining us today. A lot of our listeners are going to take so much out of today. I always talk to people and say, look, Apex Unleashed was designed out of a curiosity for life and knowledge. And if you think there's something that Amy's spoken about today and she can actually help you, we'll leave the links below. Amy Duncan, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. Have a great day. We'll chat to you soon.
Thanks, Damian.
See ya.
Thank you so much for coming to today's episode. I always talk to people about my little journal, and this is the one I've got. It's not my first one, but it really is about your thoughts and actions become really important when you write them down. So don't forget to do those daily habits. They make all the difference. Please like and subscribe to all our channels. We are here to create and share content with you that helps you move forward in your journey as well, and we'd love to hear about your success stories.